So I've had some questions on Boolean, and some people are a little confused on how it works. So I'm going to make this video to try and give you an idea of, in the simplest form, how Boolean is worked. So Boolean is actually a data type, just like int, double, char, and string. Actually, string's a class, but it's a data type. So if you wanted to create variables, you would actually just type in Boolean and then give it a name, test, and then close it out. So right now, if I were to try and use Boolean, I don't have any value set to it. So when I compile this, it's going to give me an error saying errors found in class. So basically it doesn't know what, I actually put in the data type. I meant to put in test. So if I compile it, it's going to say error found because Boolean isn't set equal to anything. So any Boolean has to have a true or false value. So Boolean has to have a true or false value. Think of it like a yes/no question for anything. Do you want peas with your dinner? Yes, no. Do you want to go to the movies? Yes, no. Do you want to join the soccer team? Yes, no. So Boolean is that discussion of yes or no. If you want to get more on the technical side, Boolean represents on and off. So like a light switch, if it's off, there's no light, and if it's on, there is light. Same idea. Do you want light? Yes. Well, you have to turn the light switch on. So I have to set Boolean equal to true or false. And as you can see, these changed colors to blue once I did that. So now if I compile this and I want to print out, or excuse me, I want to run this program, when it prints out, it's going to print out false because that's what I have this set to. If I change this to true, it's going to print out true. It did not print out. Where is it? There we go. So it prints out true. So a lot of times with Boolean, you use it with other things. This is just to give you an idea of what that is. If I try to set this to a number, I'm going to get an error because it's going to say, or because the error is, click here and it says incompatible data types. So int cannot be converted to Boolean. Same thing with changing it to a word, stand. When I compile this, I'm going to get an error again. I click on the error and it says it cannot be a string. So Boolean right now is set to true. So now with any variable, you know that that can change. And a lot of times you're going to end up using a Boolean for different things to test out if something is true or not. So let's just make this real easy and we'll have two ints. Int num1 equals 5 and num2 equals 7. So I'm going to have test equal 5 is greater than 7. So when I compile it, I have no errors because this is trying to tell me, is this true or is it false? Well, 5 is not greater than 7, so it should be false. So when I run this program, it prints out false. Even though I originally had it set to true, because this statement is now false, it's going to print out false. Now I can even do this here and change this around. 7 is greater than 5. So understand that if I print this, or if I test this here, it's going to be false, and then I test it again, it's going to be true. So this is going to come out true because I didn't print in between. So I compile it, I'm going to run it, and then you can see it's true. But if I take this and I print it in between, I'm going to get a false read and then a true read. False read, then a true read. A lot of times, though, we do not use the Boolean as a piece by itself. A lot of times we're going to use it in an if statement. All right, so an if statement could actually have the word test in there because the Boolean is already set to true, so this will print out. So we're going to test to see if the if statement will run. So if this is true, this will run because if determines based on a Boolean if I run it or not. So because we already have it set to true, we know that it's going to run because this is a test to see if it will run. So we know it's going to run. Now if we change this to false, we're actually going to get nothing printed out at all. See, it doesn't print anything out at all because it never sees this system.out.print. Now with that being said, this is where the else comes in. The else occurs if nothing else happens. So if this is false, it's going to skip this and go right to the else. This is a test to see if the if statement, so this is a test to see if else works. So based on our example that we have right here, the else will print out. This is a test to see if the else works. Now, this is just explaining what Boolean is on the variable side. Booleans can also be used by themselves as its own statement. So going back to what we had done before, where we had int num1 equals 5 and num2 equals 7. We already know that 7 is greater than 5. So this is going to be evaluated by the if statement to see if that comes out or that comes out. So because this is true, this should print out. Again, this is a Boolean statement even though it doesn't have a Boolean variable attached to it. So I'm going to compile it. It likes the program, and now I'm going to run it. And we should see that this is a test to see if the if statement will run, which is that first thing. Again, if we flip it, 5 is greater than 7, or actually, I should probably use the variables. Num1 is greater than num2. We know that 5 is not greater than 7, so we should get the else statement coming out. So I run it, and then here's the else statement. So a lot of times you guys are going to have your programs that are going to ask you to find out if something is something, or if something is a certain variable. So for instance, you guys ask, what is your gender to your users? I have an extra space in there, and I need to import outside java.util.scanner. Just make sure that's right. It does like that. And we now need to do I'm going to do string gender equals in dot next line. Now I know you can do char at, but I'm not worried about that right now. So now we can put in here if gender dot equals ignore case m, it will print out this one, first one. And I'm going to say you are male. And then I'm going to say you are female. So I'm going to compile this. It does not like the in because I didn't set up my scanner. So scanner in equals new scanner system.in. Compile. It likes it now. I'm going to come back here. I'm actually going to get rid of that so it pops up on its own. I'm going to compile it, run it. It's going to ask me the question, and I'm going to say that I'm male, and it says you are female. So I have the issue that I typed in the whole name, and that would be the char piece. So we want to do letter or not letter. And this is that piece where I'm going to add that M/F. So they know that that's the option I want, because we want to make sure the user knows what we're asking for, which is a sidebar. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to say M, and you are male. If I run it again and I say F, it should say you are female. So the Boolean expression here, equals ignore case, determines if this is true or not. So this is another Boolean expression without using the Boolean variable. I hope this helped. Let me know if you have any questions.